Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Everything Koshur. I'm one of your hosts, Akansha.
And I'm Ritvik, and we're happy to be back with another exciting episode of Everything Koshur, with another Kashmiri doing something really interesting, another entrepreneur, and we have Rishik Dhar talking about Solid Health AI.
Hi, Namaskar. My name is Rishik Dhar, and I am the CEO, co-founder of SolidHealth.ai. I'm also a Kashmiri Pandit, and I'm very proud of Kashmiri Overseas Association in general, as well as the youth, which has revitalized everything that's happening in the community. So, very honored to be here.
We're happy to have you. It's very exciting to hear from another Kashmiri Pandit who's making headway and done so much good with their career.
I don't know how much good I've done yet, but that's the intent. But like I said, I'm very happy and this gives me immense joy to kind of meet with the younger Kashmiri Pandits like you, both of you, and if there is anything I can share that can be of use, I would love that very much.
Yeah, that would be great. Just getting the message and also, learning from your experience and then disseminating that information to the all of the Kashmiri youth who listen to the podcast. That's the goal. So I guess just to start out, would love to hear about what exactly is Solid Health AI, how you came up with the idea and what exactly you're building.
Sure. Solid Health AI started as a consumer facing healthcare AI app. The goal was to bring all the healthcare data in one place, which includes the EHR data. It includes your wearables and anything else that is out there that you may have in your repository or in your inbox, but does not exist in a centralized repository where it all can be put together into a consolidated view of your health. That was the initial objective, and we launched our app in last year, 2025. I think April, we did our soft alpha launch, and within a month after that, we did sort of a full public alpha launch, and we started receiving some interest from the consumers. And what it allows you to do is you can connect to, if you're in the United States, you can connect to your EHR tools using your personal portal credentials and pull all your data and start looking at your data to understand where is your health at. And that is a starting point for you to uh, look into things of concern or things that you're doing well. Once we established that there was a lot of goodness in the data, we discovered that there was also a big barrier in making it useful for people, which means that if you're generally in good health, you probably are not looking at your health data every day. It's only if you're sick or you're recovering from a sickness that you want to look at your health data maybe regularly. And from that insight and from the advisors, some of our advisors who are expert clinicians, one of them is another well-known Kashmiri Pandit, Dr. Vimarsh Rana, who basically looked at our product and platform and suggested that, we should probably start looking at post-acute care as one of the areas. And we researched that and discovered that there was a huge opportunity. And then later in the year, we pivoted in that direction and started building for post-acute care and telemedicine companies so that we can provide a unified view of health, both for the doctor and the patient, as well as other stakeholders in the entire healthcare ecosystem, which primarily includes your caregivers. So if you're a senior or somebody who's not very tech savvy and you have a caregiver who is helping you out with your healthcare related issues, recovery, medication, your appointments, having a conversation with your care team, that person should also have easy access to your health data instead of all the printouts and all the Excel sheets that many caregivers have to rely on to manage health of their loved ones. So we started kind of building the product in that direction. And in the US healthcare ecosystem, there are a lot of EHR tools and services. And because they are all owned by different companies and have different user interfaces and ways of accessing that data, and they have different capabilities, it's not a consistent experience for either the patient and their caregiver or the provider to look at that data in a single pane of glass and understand how the health of a patient is progressing. So we solved that problem for the providers first and simultaneously for the patients and caregivers. Have nurses and doctors and administrators and therapy directors, etc. There's a huge staff out there that's working on your health, and we will make them sort of access all the data and day-to-day progress, allowing them to bring the patients fully to their to a level of strength and recovery that they can then leave that nursing home and then go home and recover on their own. That's what our latest capability is. So that's an end-to-end overview of what Solid Health AI, where it started and where it is today.
No, that's amazing. Like getting like the entire patient care journey. I remember as a child, like when I would have like doctor's visits or just in my general maybe like vaccinations or like healthcare, my dad would have this one binder with like a bunch of like paper which was related to like every single appointment that I had, or everything was very fragmented. So just getting all of that data together in one place, so you kind of get like a full overview of your health. So
That is
I
correct.
started out with I guess just chronic condition care and like entire your journey, and then now as I understand it, post acute is the next capability that you guys are building out.
That is correct. Actually, you made a very good point over there. So it's the fragmentation that hurts the most. And we are trying to defragment the data storage and um, the preventative care aspect of it, which is also, it becomes like automatic once you have all the information in one place. You can continue to track your vaccinations, your medication. If you're a younger person, then mostly your immunization. By younger, I mean like infants and smaller babies. You can manage their health. Of course, we are not targeting that population right now because it's very linear for them mostly. It is only when you get older, maybe population that's over 40, it's a non-linear experience for them to manage their health. That's where things get very complicated and you can miss out on something important if there is no central repository. If you went to a doctor and they suggested five things and you only remember the four out of those five, the fifth one could become something serious if it goes unnoticed over a long period of time. So exactly what you said, this fragmentation is what we are trying to address and keep people uh, fully compliant with or adherent to whatever it is they need for their health.
I think it's really important what this tool is doing, especially because with adults, oftentimes when you move, when you try out different care providers, they require such an extensive history, and that relies so heavily on your own memory to be able to produce all of that information. And for people who are more who are elder, who have maybe some chronic illnesses, it's hard keeping up and remembering all of these different instances of your medical history. So
Right.
having all of that information somewhere that your current care team is able to access and review, instead of relying on you filling out all of this medical history every time you try to see a new provider. Like you said, it helps with bridging those gaps in care, because if I don't remember something and it is actually something that's very important and a doctor has documented it at some point, just because I don't recall having that in that repository, as you say, is a really great way to make sure that whatever your new team is, um they're able to bridge those gaps for you.
Absolutely. You bring up another good point. It's called care continuity, and that's certainly one of the outcomes we want to achieve with this platform. We are not there yet entirely, but being able to transition from one healthcare system to another, transition from one state to another, from one specialist to another, all these transitions can create a lot of gaps, and having some continuity across those gaps is vital. And the older you get, it gets more important for you. So that's very accurate. Yes.
One question. So you guys have like built out the tool in such a ways that you can feed in information from the different healthcare systems that you've been a part of. Was that very straightforward? If so, why have like the big EMR systems not already done it, like linked up all of the data?
So I would say there is a lot of serendipity that has favored us. We did not at the beginning, we did not understand the complexity of healthcare system or why the systems were so broken. And we assumed that there isn't really a good way to bring all this data together. And that's how we started our research. And it turns out that in reality, there has been this silent team of engineers and architects who have been working on a government mandate which has existed for more than 10 years now, where they were building standards of interoperability. And what that means is that allows systems to talk to each other and sort of pass the data back and forth. So that capability had evolved to a significant degree already by the time we entered the field. When we started doing our research, we discovered that there is already uh, a lot of foundational technology out there that we can leverage, and that's what we started doing. What is making it even faster today? And I want to kind of preamble that by saying when we started, there were maybe one or two players in the market who had barely started talking about this concrete view of data across systems. But in the last 2 years, a lot of players have emerged who had been working on it for a long time. They just weren't talking about it. One of them is called BeWell, which then became a foundational data provider for Google, for OpenAI, and I'm forgetting probably for Apple or maybe one or two more. So this, what they discovered, we discovered around the same time, or maybe like, a little bit here and there on the timeline. So once we discovered that, we started looking for partners who were already bringing the data out of these silos. And we found a partner who was willing to kind of customize their technology for the way we wanted that data pull to be used. And that's how we were able to actually put together a capability that was at that time probably very novel. And novelty is changing like every 3 months these days, maybe every month now. So it's not true that other companies could not have done it or are not able to do it, and we are the only ones that are able to do. I think where we have an advantage and some lead is the way we created the product vision, which takes the idea of care gaps and starts filling those care gaps and treats a patient's transition or even though the fact that they are sort of just growing older, takes that idea as a journey and then sort of weaves that journey into a single product and a set of capabilities that evolve with time to bring more and more continuity in their care. That product specification was not there, and that is what allowed us to kind of come up with this unique vision around serving people with their unified view of data and care continuity. So I would say we are not the only ones that are doing this. There are, since we started, there are now probably 40 plus other companies that are doing something in the same spirit. And data is still is not a problem for like accessing data is not a problem anymore. That's a solved problem. But what people are doing is they're still building in those silos, and
Mhm.
we are trying to go across the silos. So I think that is probably one thing you can attribute to us, that we are doing in a way which is more holistic. And oftentimes we ask why companies like Epic or Cerner, such like large companies who have the lion's share of the market, why have they not done it? They have tried, but because of their business models, they were incentivized to keep the control on the data that they have rather than collaborate with other players. And I think they realized it a little too late that there was more value in collaboration than sort of hoarding the data. They are waking up now, and they are beginning to open up their platforms and encourage more participation and collaboration across the board. So it's not that they could not have done it. Technical feasibility was never the issue, at least not in the last 10 years. It was the business model. It was the ability to monetize that access to data, that they were not clear, or they felt that the market was not ready. And hence they did not really take that initiative. And I think we have kind of broken that mold a little bit and started identifying these commercially viable ways in which you can bring the data together, offer as a service, and still have a huge impact on people's lives. So I don't know if that was a windy answer to your question, but I hope that gives you some insight.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. There just wasn't opportunity to make a lot of money at the time, and now there is.
I think opportunity existed, people just didn't see it.
The-
And then they started seeing it. So now it's becoming a very hot market right now.
Well, so what brought this to your attention? How were you able to see it? What, what encouraged this idea to then, bloom into this company?
We didn't see it at first. We just hoped that there would be an opportunity. We were driven more by wanting to make an impact. My mom, who visited me, I mean, my parents have visited me from India a bunch of times, since I started living here. Last time they visited was 2022, and she had a TIA stroke, and that kind of, uh, that interfered with her cognitive abilities substantially. And she had to undergo an enormous sort of restorative process or journey to kind of get back to a normal or almost normal cognition. Her short-term memory is impacted. Some of her mental faculties are sort of, there's more strain on it. So that experience, and then the feeling of being helpless, because you see, I was not never a primary caregiver for her. So there was no system out there that I could have looked up information and then taken her to a doctor and given that information to them so they could treat her. So when she went through that experience, the doctors over here just did like primary, ER stuff, but they did not really try to address the root cause, for which she had to kind of wait a month or so, go back home, and then start the process with the doctors that are familiar with her conditions. So that experience was what I was trying to address, personal experience. And it turned out that my co-founder also had similar experiences with his mother. So that became the driver or trigger, I would say, to find out ways in which we can extract the self data, put it in one place, and make the caregivers more empowered so that they can take care of their loved ones. We did not start because there was an obvious opportunity to commercialize this. It was just, let's see where we go. And then it's only in the last, I would say, 10 months, the commercial applications have become clearer to us.
Interesting. Yeah, that does make for like a when you see something like that happening, the blatant problem, and then you can't really do anything about it. That does motivate you to, okay, I need to fix the problem myself. And as someone who's had a background in software, you're like, yeah, I'm in the Bay Area. I'm working in software. This is the moment for me to build the solution.
Yeah. Actually, since you mentioned that, I will also add one more probable cause of us taking this path. which is my work at Amazon, where I was responsible for consumer data in Amazon search worldwide. So we were building some algorithms which allowed us to understand the journey of a consumer from a trigger to an actual purchase event. And it was during that time working on that problem that I sort of had these insights about how can the journey, the concept of a journey, how can it really make an impact on someone's life? So that was the, for lack of better term, technical insight that allowed me to um sort of think about the problem the way we thought about it, and then we started building on it. So yeah, certainly the experience in the technology was a big, I would say, enabler because it allowed me to shape the problem. It allowed me to think about how would we, once we had data, when we had data, how would we use that data to solve the problem from the technical feasibility standpoint. So it did contribute, like that experience did become very useful for us.
That's
Yeah, yeah, sorry, Akansha.
nothing. I was just going to say that's very interesting. And um, I think it's really interesting that both you and your coworker have this similar experience, or you and your co-founder have this similar experience of having a parent need to come and have care in the United States and have all of these gaps in their medical history. So the caregiver is just um, they're working with such little information to try to address this bigger problem. No,
Certainly, I think it's not just for people visiting India, I mean, visiting from India or visiting United States from any other country. I think caregivers, even who have lived all their lives here, it's the same challenge. They don't have a good way, excuse me, to monitor the health of their loved ones. We later on discovered that this problem is not unique to us. It is a very common problem for any caregiver in this country, and that kind of strengthened our belief that this was an area that we should focus on more and more.
so does your Kashmiri heritage and culture kind of play into that thought process?
I'm sure, like there are some um, latent cultural sort of influences that play into it. More obviously or more on the surface, things that I can tell you is like when I was looking for a co-founder, I looked in the community first and I found my co-founder, also a Kashmiri Pandit and who's been my friend for over 20 plus years, maybe 25 years now. That is one. The second is when I wanted to raise money, I thought of the community first as people that I can reach out to because I feel that I'm very connected to them and they would appreciate the need for building something which is supported by Kashmiri community. Then I started looking for customers and I started from Kashmiri community and that also came through. So if you look at it, we have a great community which can be leveraged as a resource to find partnerships, to find investors, to find customers. And despite the fact that we are such a small community, the educational sort of emphasis in our community, the desire to make an impact and not only be money minded, but also think about how to contribute to the society. That's a common fabric or common thread that ties us all together. And I think that has played a very big role. Even today, some of my advisors who have been there with me from day one are Kashmiri Pandits. So, we have such a great resource at our disposal. And I think that is certainly something I attribute my progress to. So I don't know if this is my upbringing or, finding or feeling that I'm more at home with my community or some other reason. But it does help to be a Kashmiri Pandit. I mean, it has helped me a lot in sort of, uh, getting this traction with the idea, getting the encouragement, getting the support, getting a lot of cheerleading from my friends and family who invested in the company in the first round. A lot of those people who invested are also Kashmiri Pandits. So yeah, I think it helped me a lot.
That's
No.
awesome. Also, in the last couple minutes we have here, I think what would be so interesting and useful is if for someone who has gone through this and worked through engaging the Kashmiri Pandit community in their entrepreneurial endeavors, if you can maybe give some tips for young Kashmiri entrepreneurs on how they can engage the community to their benefit as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a thing that I would love to kind of talk for hours because um, you know, aside from everything else, I think we all grow up with a little bit of a skepticism that if we are going to do something, maybe we should try doing it outside community because that somehow is more comfortable because working with people you have known all your life may kind of put a little more pressure on you. I would like to tell this to everyone who's like young and old that I think the pressure comes down when you're working with people that know you more intimately. And that's why we see, different communities in the world, they have once they start supporting each other economically, that community gets stronger and stronger. So I would say, meet with as many Kashmiri Pandits as you can, and like maybe drop your judgment and just kind of try sharing what you feel is important to you with them. If possible, build one-on-one relationships with people who have accomplished, different milestones in their lives, and try to be authentic Kashmiri or non-Kashmiri, like whatever it is, like you may not feel that there is an authenticity about being Kashmiri Pandit because you're probably growing up over here. But whoever you are, whatever it is that you feel is authentic you, embrace it and present that to your community members and see if they will come and support you. And I'm betting 9 out of 10 times people will help you one way or the other. Of course, the effort is going to be all yours. You will have to make the most of whatever you get from different people. I would say, like, there is a KOA camp. Go to it. There is this youth like event that people, younger people meet once a year. Go to that because you're going to make these connections, which may not help you today, but 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, these same people are probably going to be working in some of the top companies out there, and they will be building their personal experiences out there, and they would have a lot more to share with you, if not today, maybe in a few years. So I think starting with your community gives you actually more cushion, more confidence. Then you can step outside the community because we are a small community. So we may not be able to scale beyond a certain point just with the help of the community. Once you have established yourself to a certain degree, then you can reach out outside the community and then continue your scaling up. And even in that process, these people that you have been talking to, they will willingly connect you to people outside the community who can help you grow. So I think there is plenty of opportunity to just meet with people, not be judgmental about their background or the way they talk to you, and spend more time trying to understand what has made them successful in their careers. Think of it like you're recording a podcast, just like the two of you are doing, right? Go there as a journalist and talk to them and listen to them, and then see what you can learn from it and discard all the rest. And I'm sure that's going to help you a lot.
Shout out youth trip. It's in 3 weeks now, so everyone get ready. I
And
guess
Absolutely.
and this year's KOA camp is going to be in Princeton, New Jersey. And Ritvik, remind me of the date. Is it
4th of July, yeah, over
4th of
4th.
July weekend?
Yes.
We'll
July
see.
2nd through 5th. Yes.
We'll
I'm
see
going
you
to be
all
there.
there.
Yeah. And I'll be there too. So happy to talk to you, when we meet in person.
Yes, that would be amazing.
The last question, because we in the giveaway, in the Everything Kosher podcast, we generally have had a lot of youth, and we always ask them, like how are you like practicing your Kashmiri culture and like propagating that. But I guess for someone who for someone who's more, lived and actually grew up in Kashmir, how uh, how have you been propagating the culture at home and like to your kids?
So I would like to tell you this. I did not grow up in Kashmir. I grew up outside of Kashmir for most of my life. I was only 2 years old when my dad was transferred out for a job, and I haven't seen the beauty of Kashmir or the Exodus in person. I have experienced it through my family. I mean, my relatives and my friends and people who became my friends later on, people who came to the same college, engineering college that I went to, who had actually faced the loss. My wife's family, who lost everything there, and she was a little kid when she was uprooted from Kashmir. I think not li having lived in Kashmir has probably strengthened my desire to be Kashmiri more than it would have if I had lived there. So, how did I propagate that? I'm like very proud to share that my daughter speaks Kashmiri, and she is 16 years old, and she identifies as a Kashmiri first, and then everything else. So I feel that's where we have been very successful. But I'm also very closely associated with all the community members who are doing all great stuff here locally in the Bay Area. And I get a lot of opportunity to be, a partner in a little bit of effort here and there that we can do. There was this Mata Kheer Bhavani temple that was inaugurated just last week. And, I didn't make a lot of big contribution, but my wife and my daughter were there. I was traveling. I couldn't do much either on the day off or through any financial contributions. But I have been involved with that effort for I would say probably over the 2 years, and it was quite a roller coaster bringing it out. So I think for me, extending or maybe propagating the culture is all about like, don't think of this as a relic. Think of it as something that you can evolve. It's your identity. You can shape it, sharpen it, present it the way you like. It doesn't have to be rigid. It doesn't have to be, defined by somebody else. So you are who you are based on your experiences and where you grow up, but you also have roots. And I think if you recognize those roots, that's all it takes. It doesn't take a lot of more effort than that.
That's amazing. And that's just great advice. Culture is it's living and breathing just as we are. And
Yeah,
it's our job to keep it alive and adapt in an environment that is not what we were used to. Um,
absolutely.
Thank you for being a guest on our podcast. And I loved hearing about your company and the work that you do for the community. Um, and thank you all for listening.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for having me.
It's
Bye.
fantastic. Thank you.